Hi everyone and welcome back to Saturn Secrets. Today's video is on the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 26th of May 2021. Hi everybody and welcome back to Saturn Secrets. Today we're discussing the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is happening on the 26th of May 2021. If you do enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for regular updates. So, the Sagittarius eclipse is upon us, and as usual with all things Sagittarius, there are a few different schools of thought on this particular lunar eclipse. For some people, it heralds a lot of anxiety, a lot of unfortunate change, and for some people, it's a really optimistic lunar eclipse. So where do I fall on the scale? Well, the reasoning for difference in opinion is usually based on where the personal truth comes from. So what I mean by that is when we have anything related to Sagittarius or we have anything related to ninth house activity, it's usually where we have formulated beliefs and a personal truth that makes sense of our suffering. It's usually where we form a belief system that can keep us safe from the 8th house matter. So think back to the Scorpio full moon, what was maybe coming up for you. It was a super moon, so it was super intense. What maybe was happening around that time in late April, feelings that came up, events that transpired. Sometimes for a lot of people, that could have been quite unfortunate. And when we go through those experiences that can be quite tough or challenging or upsetting, we then have to look at the 9th house and make sense of it, reasoning behind it, patterns behind it. The 9th house as well as the 12th, so Sagittarius and Pisces, which are both impacting this lunar eclipse, that energy is associated with our right brain, and our right brain is what sees the patterns. It takes the more holistic approach, the more movie-like approach where we're seeing the patterns, we're seeing the plot lines, that type of thing, and we're seeing how we got there. Whether as the left side of the brain is more to do with the facts and the mental activity, what we know to be true, what we can see. So with the 9th house energy and Sagittarius energy, it's where we take this broader perspective. We ask, why did this happen? Why did the suffering within the 8th house happen? Why did we experience this pain? And for a lot of people then, we formulate our own personal truth, whether it is Christianity, whether it's astrology, whether it is science, whatever reasoning we take behind this, whatever belief system we subscribe to. It is usually based on our personal experience and how we've dealt with life and how we make sense of the events that unfold. That is why when you're having a political discussion with somebody or a religious discussion with somebody, it can feel very personal. It can get very heated because it really matters to the person that they have this pattern, this understanding, this truth as to why certain things happened, mostly because they then want to avoid suffering. They want to avoid the painful experiences. So when we have an eclipse coming up in Sagittarius, it's important to understand how you feel about it. Okay, so how you feel about it. Do you feel anxious about it? Do you feel worried about it? Do you feel brave about it? Do you feel like you trust in the higher meaning? Because Sagittarius energy is about higher meaning. It's universal wisdom, believing that either the universe is working in your favor. I believe that there's a term for that. I think it's pronoia, whenever you believe that everything is rigged in your favor, or it's paranoia, feeling like everything is going to go wrong, and also feeling like you cannot handle things that go wrong. So this Sagittarius the Sagittarius eclipse is bringing up a lot of feelings surrounding our belief system and what we believe to be true about ourselves and about the world, about the universe, about that higher energy that we can't necessarily see or fully understand. The interesting thing about this particular eclipse is the fact that Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter has just moved into Pisces, and Jupiter likes being in Pisces because Jupiter traditionally ruled Pisces. Now, Pisces is the ruler of the 12th house. That is our subconscious. That's our unconscious patterns of behavior. So when they are not completely aligned with our higher truths, we typically get mixed results. We can believe on a surface level that we have faith or that we're optimistic. Our subconscious might have a different idea. Our subconscious with Piscean energy is where there is an undercurrent below that we're not quite aware of that dictates a lot of our actions and a lot of our beliefs. With the Sagittarius energy, you often find that it is a sign associated with the concept of the law of attraction, because Sagittarius rules the 9th house, and that 9th house loves to understand laws and things that govern our behaviour and dictate our reasoning. Sagittarius seeks patterns and truths, and law is an aspect of this. So when we talk about the law of attraction, the law of the universe, it's oftentimes a very Sagittarian concept. That's why you see on YouTube, for example, a lot of the people who practice law of attraction or teach it, not forgetting that Sagittarius is often the teacher, a lot of the people that teach it are Sagittarius people. Now, the concept of the law of attraction in itself is a good thing. It is about your thoughts create reality. This is true on a philosophical level, but it's also true on a psychological level. But the problem with this is that so much of our thought process is subconscious, what we don't see. But we can spot it, we can understand it through dreams, we can understand it through therapy, and we can understand it through our feelings, where our feelings are showing up that don't quite match our thoughts. So with this eclipse, because there's a square between the Sagittarius energy and the Pisces energy, it's important to see where your thought patterns, your belief system, isn't lining up with your feelings. Okay, so Jupiter going into Pisces can be an incredibly healing time for the collective, for a lot of people, because it is the process of spiritual awakening, of course, but it's also the process of understanding what lies beneath. Jupiter expands where it is, right? So when Jupiter is in the sign that rules the subconscious, it can really pull a lot of stuff to the surface. Around eclipses, we often find that a lot of stuff washes up from the sea. You can see the tide levels can increase, things can wash up that we hadn't seen. I remember last year around the eclipse, going for a walk on the beach, and the hugest jellyfish I've ever seen in my life, and they had to put out a warning for people not to take their dogs near the beach at that time because so many jellyfish. I mean, the beach was covered and they were absolutely massive. That can be eclipse energy. We will associate that with Jupiter and Pisces, maybe bringing up some stuff for you subconscious, particularly in the aspects of fear or hopefulness, and how you actually feel about them, how you actually feel about life. It's the misalignment between our belief system and how we really feel. It's sort of like if you realize you're going to church and you're praying, but you're not connecting with it, you don't really feel like you're doing anything. The same as having a crystal in your house. You look at the crystal, you know, this is supposed to generate feelings of this, but I'm not connecting. It could be that there's something below that is stopping you from connecting to your higher self, to your higher truths, and also to your faith and your belief system. So because there's a little bit of friction between the Sagittarius eclipse and the ruler Jupiter, and because they're both in the houses that rule the right brain, there's a lot of question as to why certain things are happening or why certain things have happened. And safety in its own principle, how safe we feel in the world, is very linked to our belief system and our subconscious mind. And if you don't feel safe in the world, oftentimes you can find it very hard to get what it is that you want because you don't have that belief in yourself, but you also don't have that belief in the world. So this Sagittarius eclipse is bringing up that kind of stuff, how you feel about the future. Let's not forget that Sagittarius is a very future-oriented sign that shoots the arrows in the direction they want to go. So in terms of your future around this eclipse, consider how hopeful you feel, what you believe in, what you subscribe to, and also what feelings might be coming up from the surface. In particular, with the aspect to Jupiter, pay attention to your dreams because they might really show you how you're feeling on a deeper subconscious level. And when you listen to your dreams, when you give them a little bit of analysis, a little bit of interpretation, oftentimes you can see what's really going on below what's really going on below that you believe, and see how that is processing in your everyday life and how hopeful you are about your goals, your aspirations, and your future. I'm going to be using another animal spirit card for this lunar eclipse because it's so very significant, and I hope that this video has given you some food for thought in terms of what could be going on with you at this time, but what could also be going on around everybody. Just bear in mind, if people feel very defensive over their belief systems and what they subscribe to, just bear in mind where it does come from. We create these truths, we create these patterns in order to keep ourselves safe, because with the 8th house energy that's so intense and where humans are just, it is part of life to suffer in some capacity, to go through things that are hurtful, to go through things that don't feel good. But some people take that Sagittarian energy and believe that this is all working out in my favour long term. A setback is a setup. And then there's other people that become so afraid of the world and they mistrust the world that they don't thrive in that Sagittarius energy. So just listen to your body. Where do you fall? And know that no judgment. It's not your fault. We all get scared. We all go through things that we wish we hadn't. And our belief system does dictate how we approach everyday life. You know, you think about it, the Sagittarius energy is opposing the Gemini energy, so we're thinking about the higher self, we're thinking about the higher beliefs and what maybe we could leave behind that is stopping us from engaging with our fellow humans, our fellow neighbours. You know, Gemini is all about community, engaging with the people around us, okay? Especially our siblings, but also communicating, having conversations with people and learning. These are all themes that are coming up around this particular eclipse. So let's do a card without further ado. Timestamps are linked below for the individual zodiac signs. Don't forget to look at your sun and rising, and you can also look at your moon. Sometimes certain things resonate better. It just depends. So, the raccoon. I like the raccoon. The raccoon is a beautiful energy because it shows us where we've been hiding in the shadows. It shows us what has been lurking in the shadows. And in particular, with the Sagittarius and Pisces energy, we think about the gifts we have of insight, the gifts we have of piecing these patterns together to formulate a truth. What lies within us. Jupiter in Pisces is also in play with this eclipse, and so it does draw attention to our artistic endeavours, our creative endeavours, because Pisces is a naturally creative energy. And when Jupiter is going through Pisces, typically there are beautiful artworks come to light. In popular culture, we see the next big thing in terms of music. We see the next big thing in terms of theatre. I think the last time Jupiter was in Pisces, I think Game of Thrones was just beginning. Or I think when Jupiter was in Pisces before as well, Katy Perry was the first person to have 5 consecutive #1s on an album since Michael Jackson. And also One Direction was born, whatever you feel about that. So these type of next big thing energies happen because people have the bravery to go after their creativity. And with this raccoon energy, it often speaks to when we are hiding our creativity, when we're hiding our gifts, we're keeping them in the shadows, and we're not happy in the shadows. With the raccoon energy, it makes us suspicious, it makes us mistrusting. And so around this time, the more creative you are, and maybe even creative with the truth. But by truth, I don't mean the Gemini energy of facts. This is an important time to stick to the facts, but the truth in terms of your higher perspective, what you believe in, what vision you subscribe to, and how you feel about the future itself. We will do one more and see what we have to go along with the raccoon. So, let's see. The beaver. I think the beaver came up recently, didn't it? The beaver. What we're working on, what we're building for ourselves. And it's funny because what we're building for ourselves usually is linked to what we believe that we can build, what we believe that we should be working on. With the beaver energy, I do have to say it's a very busy energy. Gemini season is a very busy time. It's when we want to work on a lot of projects, a lot of plans, a lot of documents, that type of thing. And with the eclipses and the beaver energy, you have to notice where you're putting your time and your efforts and how you feel about that. For a lot of people, this really symbolizes working on a creative project. So if you're thinking of that, this is a sign that you should do it. Whether it's writing a book, starting a blog, starting a website, writing a song, painting a picture, something that is creative. There will be a lot of sparks around this time, and they could be based on philosophers. They could be based on philosophy doctrines. They could be based on what's archaic or what is religious. A lot of art can come from that type of inspiration. So this is very intriguing, I have to say. For everyone that is creative, this is indeed a sign that you should go after something that you really want. Or maybe for a lot of people, you're subscribing to working on what is lurking in the shadows. The beaver is putting in the hard work to work through issues that you may have lying beneath, be it subconscious, be it from past experiences, past traumatic events, or just past belief systems that are no longer working for you. And the Sagittarius eclipse is saying, bye, adios, that's it. So, all the way to heaven is heaven. If you're interested in your zodiac sign, the timestamps are listed below. Thank you for listening if you've listened the whole way through this part, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries and Aries rising. So this eclipse is very true to the form of the introduction for you. It is your 9th and 12th house, your right brain, your belief system, where you see patterns, where you see truth. And so around this time, Aries, it may be that issues surrounding your beliefs come into play. You may be leaving behind a particular way of seeing the world, of believing in the world, of believing in the universe. You could be finding yourself very intrigued by concepts such as mysticism. We actually drew the mysticism card for you. We could be talking about mysticism, the unseen, aliens, religion, spirituality. These type of things could be coming up for you at this time, and you're thinking, wow, I have a completely different vision for my future now based on my belief system, what I want to subscribe to, what I want to understand about the world. For a lot of you with that 9th house eclipse, it could be that you, if you're living in a foreign country, are thinking, I would like to be closer to home. I would like to be closer to my roots. Or you could be thinking the opposite. You could be thinking, I want to move abroad. I want to live somewhere else. I want to immerse myself in another culture. But for most people, it's actually about leaving behind something culturally. So it could be that you're leaving behind a particular set of religious values. Maybe you were raised in a very religious background, or maybe you were raised in a very significant community that had a particular set of beliefs. It could be something like that. For some of you, it could be leaving behind a cult, but that's probably not many of you. So this 9th house energy with the eclipse, it is about letting go of the belief systems that don't serve you in your particular way of seeing a situation or seeing the world. Maybe it could also be to do with foreign travel. As I say, it could be for a lot of you Aries, you're finally finishing off a period of higher education. You could be graduating for a lot of you around this time, submitting your final pieces. It could be that you are leaving behind a particular form of study. It could be that you are leaving behind a particular schooling system, something like this. And because it is in friction with the 12th house in a sense, because it is squaring Jupiter, don't forget that Jupiter still brings blessings even when there's a square. So it could be that around this time you're realizing what type of healing you've been doing or what type of healing you need to do. And it could give you a rise, Aries, in terms of emotions. You could be feeling very emotional about a particular belief system or a particular truth that comes to light about yourself. Could be something to do with that. It could be that you're very proud of yourself at this time for seeking other opinions or seeking counsel or figuring out, you know, what you want to do next in terms of shooting your arrows. And you maybe realize that a goal you've gone after has taken a lot out of you with that 12th house energy in play, and you really need to rest at this time, or you really need to figure out how you truly feel about your next big adventure. So that is something that's kind of coming up for you. Your cards, Aries, were the 7 of Pentacles, the Thinking Man, and mysticism. So remember in the beginning how I was talking about that right brain energy where we're seeing patterns? A lot of you are thinking very hard about things that are mystical and things that are philosophical. You just have more of an interest in it around this eclipse, particularly possibly abandoning that belief system. It could be something that you've worked on for a very long time, or a lot of you with the 7 of Pentacles are starting to see the fruits of your labor in terms of study, in terms of a course, in terms of further study, higher education, what you've been learning for yourself, what you've been teaching others in particular. And some of you could be graduating as teachers, or some of you could be graduating as master's students or philosophers or anything like this. With the thinking man, I think a lot of you are actually, Aries, getting a lot of clarity on your belief system, which is a really beautiful thing to see. And if you're not interested in anything mystical, Aries, bear in mind with Jupiter and Pisces, that could actually be something that happens later for you. I have seen people that are Aries rising talk about how they're just not excited about Jupiter and Pisces because they're not mystical people. In which case you kind of wonder why you're on an astrology video, but you know, that could be a sign that you're actually stepping into that energy anyway. So this eclipse for you, Aries, could mark some significant change in terms of leaving behind belief system, something you've learned, something you've taught, or anything like that. I hope you have a beautiful eclipse, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Taurus and Taurus rising. This eclipse is happening for you in your 8th house, and it is also opposing your 2nd house. It's going to be squaring off with your 11th house. So there's some interesting conversations going on here for you, Taurus, in terms of love and money, but in particular to do with money. Because it's in your 8th house, this may be a time, especially linked to the 12th, where you come into some form of money that you weren't expecting. It could be for a lot of you, you're realizing that in terms of your intimate relationships and your money, there is something that needs to be balanced here. So it could be that you're working very hard to get money. Could be for some of you with the 8th house and the 2nd house that you are realizing that your need to possess material things has actually been in detriment to your intimate relationships. Or it could also be just asking, Taurus, around this time, what makes you feel secure? What it is that you potentially need to let go of. Now, because there's a little bit of tension with Jupiter, albeit even when there's tension with Jupiter, sometimes it can be very lucky. It can be a hidden blessing. It may be at this time that you're really glad, Taurus, that certain friendships didn't work out, or you may be feeling very excited about a new chapter with new friends, something like that with Jupiter being in Pisces. It's also possible, Taurus, that you're realizing that a new venture, a new goal, or a new aspiration will make you feel more fulfilled. It doesn't necessarily have to be financially fulfilling, but it may be something that makes you feel more fulfilled. With the eclipses, it may be around this time as well that you notice that you have some money come to you. It may be that you notice some money has to go out. It may notice that you have some additional expenditure or something of this nature, Taurus, because this is the 8th house. But for a lot of you, this could also indicate the end of a joint venture where you're shared resources. It may be the final time in your life, for example, that you pay tax on something if you've retired. It may be the end of a particular financial resource, or it may be the end of paying out money to something specifically. Some of you could finish up paying a mortgage at this time, for example. But for a lot of you, Taurus, there's some interesting stuff came up in your cards, and I think it's to do with the 8th house in terms of intimacy. So with the man holding a heart, you may have noticed with the 8th house, Taurus, that some of these feelings that are coming up for you are to do with how you feel you merge with people, how you are vulnerable with people. And that doesn't have to be in a romantic sense. It can also be to do with your family. It can be to do with how you connect to people on a deeper level, and where maybe you've pushed some of that away, maybe due to being a workaholic. With the workaholic card and the 4 of Cups, you could be realizing around this time that you have neglected an emotional connection, or you could realize that you actually have with the 8th house, because it's to do with psychological breakthroughs. It could be that you realize you actually have some intimate fears, or fears of connecting to somebody, or fears of being vulnerable, and you're realizing at this time that you want to let go of those fears. A lot of stuff could be coming up for you, and it could be linked to self-worth. What I do feel about the man holding a heart, though, Taurus, is that a lot of you could be experiencing love coming into your life that is maybe the reason you've had to let go of certain feelings, or it could be that a lot of you are leaving relationships that aren't emotionally fulfilling for you. And if that is the case, the man holding a heart card is saying that love will come again, basically. But I do feel for a lot of you that as much as 8th house eclipses, they really put the fear of God in people. Like, you're taught to fear them because we think of 8th house as like death, taxes. I don't know which one's scarier. It depends. I think for a Taurus it's probably taxes. But things like that, it's taught to scare you, but really the 8th house is so much more personal. It's so much more about the psychological breakthroughs we have as people, and what we experience and what we let go of internally in order to have a phoenix moment. So don't fear it. Don't fear it. Don't think that it's going to be everything up in ruins. It's actually, Taurus, more to do with letting go of the fears you've built up over time. And as a fixed sign, you need that. Okay, so don't fear it. It looks actually like, for some of you, it's that that feeling that, you know, this is going to work out okay. Things are going to be okay. Love will happen again, or love will be okay. That kind of energy. But maybe around this time, if you can, step away from working so hard or stressing about work-related matters when you're meant to be resting. So that is what I have for you, Taurus. I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, and welcome to your segment on the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. So Gemini, we are in eclipse season, and it is to do with you and your opposite sign. So this eclipse is obviously happening in the sector of the sky for you that rules marriage, it rules relationships, it rules contracts, agreements, and the other. Sometimes it rules opposition, it rules our enemies. But for you, the point of this eclipse is to do with closing out a particular phase in terms of your relationships. For a lot of you, that could signify getting married. It could signify getting engaged. It could also, on the flip side, for those of you that are in unhappy unions, signify splitting or divorce or that type of thing. But really, for most of you, this signifies a beautiful new beginning in terms of your relationships. Now, it is interesting to me, Gemini, to see your eclipses come up, because Jupiter is now in your 10th house, which is to do with your reputation and your social status, which is why for a lot of you, I do think, especially if you're Gemini rising, I do think it's probably going to be linked in some capacity to marriage, to a change in status, a change in title. And if a lot of you aren't there yet, it could be that you meet the person you're going to marry later in life, or it could be that you just start realizing what it is that you actually want in a partnership, and that certain people just aren't cutting it anymore. And remember that this eclipse is also linked very much to your identity. So for a lot of you, I do think it is a change in identity of some kind. Maybe you're changing your hairstyle. Maybe you're changing your facial features. Something about yourself is changing, Gemini. We see this with Sagittarius happening as well. But for you, this is mostly linked to your significant others. Now, a couple of cards, I've only been doing about 3 cards for each sign, but you had a few more pop out. The cards that I got in terms of your oracle were appreciation, a woman holding a heart, and the 6th chakra, which is Archangel Metatron. So for you, Gemini, I feel like a lot of you are having a real shift in terms of your intuition, shall I say. And I think that that's a lot in part to do with the fact that we've Uranus going through your 12th house. Uranus is giving you these sparks of intuition, these sparks of insight. It's really working on healing you. It's giving you new and alternative tools to work through some subconscious stuff. And I think for a lot of you, the more that you're healing what's underneath with Uranus, the better your love life is going. For a lot of you, you're realizing around this eclipse how lucky you feel in love, or how you feel grateful for what's to come. There's an element of appreciation here bringing you closer to love. So maybe it is that you just change your outlook on your romantic life, and then all of a sudden it shifts quite dramatically for you. That can be a Sagittarius eclipse theme, but with the Queen of Pentacles and perception, I think a lot of Geminis are coming into a new way of seeing the world. I think a lot of you are coming into a new way of appreciating what you have, or who you have, or who is to come, as it were. It could be an earth sign, a Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, sun, moon, or rising, but it doesn't have to be. For a lot of you, in terms of this Queen of Pentacles and perception card, you're seeing your own beauty, you're seeing your own worth. And a lot of you are getting really very practical about the future and what it is that you want, especially in terms of partnerships. And your identity in some way could for sure be changing in terms of family as well. We saw that Naomi Campbell has just become a mother. Nobody expected that. It can be that type of energy. She is a Gemini. So that is what I have for you, Gemini, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Cancer, and welcome to your segment on the Sagittarius eclipse. So this is happening in your 6th house, which is to do with work, health, habits, that type of thing, Cancer. It's to do with your routine and your schedule. So with the Sagittarius energy being an eclipse for you, Cancer, you might be changing jobs. You might be changing your routine. You might be changing your health. It could be that some health issues have come up at this time for you to work with, to listen to, particularly if you're stressing, if it's very anxious what you're feeling. Because we have so much energy in your 12th house at the moment, there's likely to be some intuitive hits or intuitive energy coming up for you at this time, particularly surrounding health. You could actually find that health ailments are eased somewhat by alternative therapies or by actual therapy, because the 12th house is our subconscious and how we work through these patterns. So for you, Cancer, it could be at this time that you're realizing that you have an intuitive knowing about your body or about your work. and your service, what it is that you give to others, and your job in general. It might be that someone in your workplace is leaving, or it might be that you're leaving, or it might be that you just realize you want to change your work, or you want to change your routine. For some of you, this could be news about your health that changes the way that you operate. Maybe you realize that you're getting your cholesterol up and you have to eat less of certain foods, or you have to exercise more. Maybe you realize around this time that you've gained weight or lost weight, and it's in some way linked to stress, and this is your chance to change it in some capacity. Now, it's in a little bit of a friction with Jupiter, the ruler of this full moon, and Jupiter's in Pisces. Now Jupiter is in your 9th house, meaning that higher philosophy and education is something you can really benefit from at this time, and the belief systems you have may have been impacting your health in some way. You might have had a very negative association with faith and belief systems, and Jupiter is actually blessing you in these areas, meaning that they can help you in terms of your health, your work, and maybe for some of you that means going back to higher education, or changing your education, or learning something new like the law of attraction, or some kind of practice that makes you feel more connected with the universe, something like that, Cancer. Now for your cards, I feel that a lot of you have started or will around this Sagittarius eclipse see your worth, because we have the self-worth card, the door to value, and the Empress. I think a lot of you are going to realize around this time that you have a lot more to offer in terms of work, in terms of service, in terms of skill, and what you contribute to the world. And a lot of you may realize around this time that you need to take better care of your body, or you need to take better care of your appearance. Maybe your grooming schedule has been off, maybe to do with being a parent, or just being exceptionally busy, and you need to make more time to care for you, is something that's kind of coming up, Cancer. With the High Priestess and the King of Swords, your right brain and your left brain are seeking a connection because of the eclipse axis being your 6th and 12th house, meaning that one is impacting the other, and the two exist to balance. They don't exist to just take one side. They exist so that you can learn to listen to your body and your intuition, but also take practical steps to better yourself, to work through life, okay? So the 6th and the 12th house are kind of the epitome of a self-help book that gives you the spiritual understanding, but also the practical steps to take to make things better. So that is what I have for you at this time, Cancer, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Leo, and welcome to your segment on the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. This is happening in your 5th house of love, romancing, dancing, creativity, children, fun, this type of thing, the playful, fun-like energy. But because this is a South Node eclipse for you, Leo, one of the things that I'm getting from your astrology, but also your cards, is about letting go of the past. Maybe it's letting go of your childhood or your romantic past. So maybe letting go of an ex is something that's coming up for you around this time. Because it is going to be opposing your 11th house, it could be that you're paying more attention to your friendships at this time, or you're leaning on your friends at this time, or connecting to your networks at this time, or throwing yourself into causes. Now, it is in a bit of tension with Jupiter that is in your 8th house. So because Jupiter's in your 8th house, it can bestow blessings on your intimate relationships. But for you, it might be that in that instance, you have to let go of the past ones. And it's not sometimes, Leo, that you're not over somebody, but it can be that you're maybe not over what they did or what happened. Because the cards came up for you were very interesting. We had the deceit card and the forgiveness card. So it might be that some of you have to let go of a romantic deceit. And this is all to make way for something new, okay? This is all to make way for something new. In fact, for a lot of you, it's to make way for a wish in particular, because we have a solar eclipse coming up in your wish fulfillment sector. So there's that to look forward to. But really around this time, a lot of you might realize you're not over something, or you've been carrying with this 10 of Wands a bit of a burden. You've been carrying past experiences, baggage to your new relationships, to your creativity. You could find that if you work in a creative profession, you feel like you've been manipulated in some way, or you feel like you've been used in some way, or you've not been able to showcase your talents, and maybe you feel misused by the universe, or you feel like you're not being seen. But for a lot of you, this is just clearing that out. And for a lot of you, it is talking to your friends about it, reaching out for help about it if you do feel like you need to let go of something. For some of you, it could be actually about forgiving a child, or forgiving something that happened in childhood, or reconnecting with your children in a way that is more healthy and is not, maybe some of you are just realizing you're really bogged down with homeschooling or things like this, and you need some help. You need a network, you need a community, you need your friends. Now, what's beautiful about this is that the Ace of Wands and Temperance came up, suggesting that just the process of letting go of those feelings or those experiences, Leo, is really going to heal you, because Temperance is Sagittarius energy, but it is about balancing the opposite energy. So balancing your friendships, your social activities, and your romantic relationships and your creativity, and how they fuse together, how there's this fusion. For some of you, that could be really beautiful creative projects, or creative projects could be ending at this time to make way for Ace of Wands, something new. So for a lot of you, Leo, it's about simply letting go of past experiences romantically to make way for something new. And this could be, in current romantic situations, maybe you feel like you're projecting onto somebody new what's happened in the past, or something like that. It could be that you're realizing that you need to forgive yourself for turning a blind eye to something, or you need to forgive yourself for something you did that you're not proud of. But these are the energies that are coming up for you, Leo, especially in terms of your cards. But bear in mind, with this eclipse, it can really clear away anything that's just not useful, so that the stuff that is useful, the stuff that is good for you, grows. That's how eclipses work. And with Jupiter going through your intimate sector and your sector of shared resources and money and things like this, anything that is being cleared is actually a blessing in disguise. But it doesn't have to be a literal thing. A lot of it can be internal too. So that's what I have for you, Leo, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to your segment on the Sagittarius lunar eclipse. So Virgo, this is happening in your 4th house, which is to do with the past. It's to do with safety, security, family, and the home. For a lot of you, you could be experiencing a change here. You could be moving, you could be selling your house, you could be leaving your rental, you could be moving to another part of the city, you could be moving home to your family, or you could be relocating in some capacity. For a lot of you, this could also simply be, if not a literal thing, an internal thing, because it's happening in the 4th house. A lot of you could be feeling memories from the past pop up in order for you to work through them and let them go. There could be a little bit of shedding in terms of the past for you, and this is all to make way for something new, Virgo, particularly in terms of your reputation and your career. We have the Sun in Gemini at this time, which is opposite this eclipse, meaning that you're going to be focusing a lot of energy in your career, in your next endeavors. Some of you could be wrapping up a period of working at a certain place, or you could be casting your eye on something in the future that you want for yourself, something that could be a little bit more fitting to your skill set, or could give you a little bit more recognition. Now, Jupiter is not in harmony with this eclipse, but Jupiter still has this way of, when it's in friction, being a blessing in disguise, or being a delayed blessing of some kind. And this is in your partnership zone, so it might be for some of you, you are leaving the home you're in to move in with a partner. It could be that you're leaving the home you're in to get married. It could be something like that. It could just be that you're moving home in order to be with somebody or be with something else, or you're moving away from somebody or something else, something like that. It could be that you're relocating for work as well at this time, is something that might be coming up for you. Speaking of work, Virgo, I think a lot of you are maybe dealing with a little bit of anxiety or feelings coming up at this time, and I want you to know that that is because of the 4th house. You're maybe processing past traumas. Now, traumas don't have to be huge. For a lot of people, they will be, but they don't have to be huge. It can just be hurt feelings that you didn't process, or disappointments. And I think for a lot of you, it's linked to decisions made in the past. We have all tied up indecision and the 9 of Swords. You could be feeling very upset and processing some feelings you're not used to, feelings that you don't know where they're coming from, or you can't source, and it may be around this time that the eclipse brings these to light so that you can let them go and understand that on your path, on your destiny, if you believe in destiny, you can't make a wrong decision. It's all part of the greater tapestry. And it may be that taking that approach really helps you move on from something, Virgo. Because for a lot of you, with the Fool, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Abundance card, the more you let go of the past, the better opportunities you're going to encounter in terms of career, or the more open-minded you are in terms of career. Maybe you feel... I feel like Virgos sometimes stick with jobs because they don't want to let their employer down. You know, they're not thinking all the time about their next move. A lot of the time, Virgo don't like to let people down. But a lot of you are going to be finding with the Ace of Pentacles, the Abundance, and the Fool, you're starting a new yellow brick road kind of thing. You're going down a new path, a new road, a new avenue, one that could be quite prosperous for you. There could be a new job in the horizon because it is Gemini season. There are career energies coming up for you. But with the Abundance card, I don't know if you can see, but he is not able to let go and he's suffering because of it. She's selling her house. So for some of you, you could actually be selling a house or buying a house. The more you practice detachment, the more you will have. So detaching from needing to be in a particular place in your career right now, or needing to be in a particular job role or a particular company, the more you let go of that, the more opportunities are going to find you. And really open yourself up to the possibility that maybe in terms of career, everything is actually working out perfectly. And maybe in terms of family as well, everything is working out perfectly. But I do think for a lot of you, if you're having trouble in career, it is maybe to do with processing the past. And these feelings could come up at this time. Don't worry, because the eclipse season is clearing out that energy for you to prosper. So that is what I have for you, Virgo, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Libra, and welcome to your segment on the Sagittarius lunar eclipse. So Libra, this is happening in your third house. Now your third house is to do with communication, it's to do with conversation, it is to do with siblings, and it is to do with facts, what we see to be true. Now this for you, Libra, could signify the ending of some sort of cycle in terms of neighbours, siblings. It could be that you stopped speaking to somebody around this time. Communication isn't as big a factor in some relationship you have. You could be closing out a way of dealing with a conversation, some kind of communication that's been ongoing for a while. It could be a project in your neighborhood. It could be to do with a team project. And for a lot of you, with the ninth house energy being there for the Gemini energy, this can be that you're clearing out some energy in terms of your immediate surroundings in order to possibly travel or expand or learn something new. Maybe take a vacation, or maybe take a new course, something that is really going to enrich your mind. Now Jupiter is in the conversation here in Pisces, and Jupiter is giving you a lot of blessings in terms of your work life and your service life. So it may be at this time that you would like to search for work that is a bit further away from where you are. Some of you could be planning to travel to see somebody, and it might require rearranging your work life, or a lot of you could be getting offered a position abroad. Now, your cards were interesting, I have to say, because a lot of this conversation is very much to do with your analytical mind, with the third house and the ninth house being in question. You know, the third house is kind of more where you make decisions based on rationality, and the ninth house is more to do with your philosophical pursuits. You're being asked actually with this eclipse to understand where you maybe block out a little bit of philosophy in order to get to the facts. It could be that you're deciding that your environment is not stimulating you enough. It's not conducive to learning. It's not conducive to expanding, and you're feeling kind of small in it. Because one of the things that I'm getting for you, Libra, with the anxiety card and the facade, a lot of you are really not so sure you want to be in something anymore. In terms of your life, your environment, the things that you're doing or the things that you're saying. Maybe you feel a little bit like you're just not aligned with your work anymore, or you're not aligned with people around you anymore. Because I also see the balance and bittersweet, meaning that some part of your life that is shifting, you're struggling to find the balance in because you feel a bit bittersweet about it. So it may be that you feel as though you are not growing where you are anymore, especially in terms of work or in terms of your environment or your neighborhood, or your line of your community, as it were. And I think for many of you, you're then going to want to expand outwards. You're going to want to try a new city or a new town or a new adventure, something like this, because I see the Three of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. So a new adventure with your work life is indicated, and you're likely to have some good news in terms of teamwork, in terms of maybe new possibilities, but you may feel very bittersweet at leaving people behind, or leaving behind somewhere maybe where you grew up or you spent a lot of time, Libra. But this is all very important for you in order to get that balance that you need, and to understand that there is an adventure waiting for you at this time, Libra. So you should be very excited about that. Have a beautiful eclipse, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, and welcome to the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius for your sign. So Scorpio, this is happening in your second house, which is to do with worth, value, money, income. It's also to do with confidence, and it's going to be opposing the sun in Gemini, which is to do with intimacy, joint resources. And there is also going to be Jupiter in the conversation in Pisces, in your sector of love, romance, pleasure, play, that sort of thing. So Scorpio, it's likely around this eclipse that maybe you are tying up some loose ends in terms of money or how you make money. It might be that you are leaving behind a particular way of making money. It could be that you actually are coming into money sometimes with eclipses. And it could be that you are merging your finances with somebody else. For a lot of you with the second house and the eighth house, it is about letting go of possessing and moving forward to sharing. So for some of you, this could be about opening a shared bank account with someone you're married to, or it could be about merging finances on something, maybe a project, maybe on a long-term endeavor, something you want to save for. It could also be that a lot of you are letting go of a particular way of doing something in order to accommodate a relationship. It might also be at this time that you are getting news about a partner or a spouse coming into some more money that is going to financially assist you both. It can go many different ways, but it's likely that the news coming up for you, Scorpio, around this time are to do with finances, be they shared or be they to do with your own personal income. Now, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. This doesn't have to be that you lose a lot of money, but it can definitely reset your relationship with money. It can be that you're having this conversation about, hey, how do I relate to money, and can I be the type of person that my partner leans on, or am I okay with sharing with somebody financially? Is this maybe linked to a fear of codependency or a fear of dependency in general? You know, these type of things can come up with the eighth house, because oftentimes how comfortable we feel sharing resources can be a fear of intimacy, or it can just be a fear of loss, a fear of abandonment, that type of thing. So these type of feelings could be coming up for you around this time, Scorpio. And you're really reassessing your relationship with self-confidence as well, value. You might be leaving behind a particular way of dealing with your problems. You might be leaving behind a particular way of settling for less than you deserve, or you may be realizing that you have been settling for less than you deserve and you think you deserve more, so you're going to leave behind this way of dealing with it. Okay, so your cards are interesting in that sense, because the tricky ones we had for you were the Eight of Swords, recovery, and all tied up. For a lot of you, you're unlocking yourself from something that's been restricted. I want to say it's mental. And I think this is maybe to do with Jupiter moving into Pisces, but it's also to do with the emphasis on the eighth house, which is psychological breakthrough. I think a lot of you are having a bit of a psychological breakthrough, because we have all tied up and the Eight of Swords. Both women are kind of stuck. And then we have recovery with a key. So I thought that imagery was really interesting. It's like you're unlocking some aspect of yourself, or you're getting yourself out of a tricky situation, and it's to do with changing your mindset. It's to do with changing your mindset, and because it's the second house, I think that's linked to a belief in what you're worth. Or it may be that money is coming at this time that's going to help you free yourself from a tricky situation. But we also had the Three of Cups, community, and the Two of Cups. So because of the emphasis on the eighth house, I think a lot of you are maybe celebrating a relationship. A lot of you could be moving to the next chapter in a relationship thanks to the Taurus new moon. You could be, for some Scorpios in long-term relationships, this could be something to celebrate your partner has done, or something to celebrate that you have done, that you're being acknowledged by your partner. For some of you, that could also be engagement. For some of you, that could be pregnancy with Jupiter and Pisces. For some of you, that could just be meeting somebody at a party, something like that. But there's a lot of celebrations, interestingly, linked to your cards, Scorpio, which I think are linked to Jupiter. So that could be to do with love, romance, pleasure, that type of thing. And it might also be to do with celebrating your new mindset, or celebrating your new way of feeling about yourself. And it might make you connect better to others, because you're being asked to lean into the Gemini energy, which is about connecting with others for you. So that is what I have for you, Scorpio. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, and welcome to the lunar eclipse in your sign. Yay! So Sagittarius, this is your moment. You are changing something. If you think back to December, you may have changed your hair, your image. I met up with a Sagittarian friend yesterday that I've not seen in a year, and she had changed her image so much. She changed her hair color completely. She'd got Botox and things like this, and I was just like, wow, you look so different. Sagittarius energy. It's a glow up. You look amazing. That type of energy, because we have the Knight of Wands and the Star here, just to give you a little dip into tarot. But the eclipse in your first house for you, Sagittarius, is about change in terms of your personality, your appearance, the way that we see you, that type of thing. So it could be that you're leaving behind a way of styling yourself, a way of behaving, a way of seeing yourself, your vision for yourself. You could be changing something at this time and letting go of a way that you have seen yourself up until now. Maybe you've always seen yourself in a particular light, and now you're realizing that there's a lot more to you. There's new depths to you. There's other energy that you want to tap into, which is really exciting for you, Sagittarius, I have to say. And I also feel with the grief and the wisdom card, a lot of you have learned so much from your losses. And for you, that doesn't necessarily have to be that you have just been this wise figure in the background figuring things out for a long time, because you are very wise and philosophical. But I think for a lot of you with the grief card, you're finding the wisdom in letting go. Like you're letting go of a part of yourself that doesn't serve you anymore, and it's that you're wiser for it. You're kind of evolving. There's always the different stages of Sagittarius. I think that there's the traveling side of the Sagittarius that wants to travel to run away from their problems, but then there's also the philosopher. Mercury's retrograde. There's the philosopher in you that is going to see the bigger picture, see the wisdom. And I think a lot of you are actually transforming with these eclipses since last year into sages. You're transforming into someone who's so wise, so philosophical, and so at peace with the universe. Some of you have really gone on an amazing spiritual journey, and it's just made you so evolved. And you're in the process still of evolving. Now, another thing coming up for you with this is the Caring Connections card. Of course, we have a solar eclipse coming up in your 7th house. So the way that you're changing personally is going to benefit your marriage, your partners, your relationships, and your future relationships. And it may also herald for some of you meeting the one, because the star can be the one. But I also see the star and the Knight of Wands as you having this adventure, having this beautiful glow up, this beautiful transformation where you're so authentic. And you're so excited to be yourself. You're so excited to be seen as well, is something that I'm seeing for you. A lot of you could be finding fame or finding fortune, or being in some capacity in the spotlight. Maybe you're doing an interview for TV. Maybe you're doing an interview for a business. Maybe you're being seen on YouTube, something like this. Maybe some of you have now got your own career running up that is going to give you a lot of clients or a lot of business. With Jupiter in the 4th house, I think for a lot of you, there's also going to be healing in terms of your family. Even if you live far away from your family, there's going to be healing in your family relationships. And it is after some kind of period where maybe you felt like there were losses. For some of you with the Mercury retrograde, you could be reuniting with someone you lost touch with, or where there was bad blood. So that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. Have a beautiful eclipse, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your Sagittarius eclipse segment. So Capricorn, this is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is sometimes what's hidden. It's our subconscious, it's our dream state, it's where magic happens. It's also where loss happens. It's where we process deep emotions. For a lot of you, this 12th house is going to be about processing feelings, processing past feelings, processing current feelings, letting go of some stuff that's not part of our next chapter, as it were. And it doesn't have to be that you're going to let go of everybody in your life or anything like that. I don't want you to get that misconstrued, but it can be that you're processing at this time a loss or a change in your life that you could be processing stuff from the past too, I have to say. But it's likely around this time, Capricorn, there is a process of clearing. Okay, it's likely that you're going to be clearing out some emotions that are maybe trapped in your body at this time, because the 12th opposes the 6th, and it could be that your feelings are being translated in terms of your physical health, your body, your well-being. Jupiter is now in your 3rd house, meaning that you need to talk about things. You need to talk about how you're feeling, express things, connect to your siblings, your community, get involved in your community. This will really help you through any feelings that you're working through if you feel like a lot of stuff's coming up. Because I do have the storm warning card, and the Seven of Wands and the Three of Swords. And this just means don't fight your feelings. Don't fight your feelings. Find ways to work with them. You're processing some pain. Some of you have had your heart broken, or some of you are experiencing grief or loss or sorrow. And the Seven of Wands in the storm warning is saying don't fight them, just feel them. Don't trap them in your body. Because I think with the Hanged Man, it could be delayed pain. Could be from a while ago, or it could just be that you are actually helping someone who is in this type of pain. Some of you could be nurses or doctors, or some of you could be healers, and you could be working with someone around this time with trapped trauma because of the Hanged Man. But it's basically that with the eclipses, with the 12th house, I have to say, one of the things I've learned so much about in the 12th house is that your feelings can be stored in your body for so long, you're just living on autopilot with them. And that can be harmful because you're not your best self. So whenever there's an eclipse in your 12th house, a lot of feelings can come up, and you can let go of maybe even fantasies about your life that aren't working for you or aren't in your best interest. You know, maybe that's letting go of a person you thought was absolutely perfect. Or maybe that's letting go of a job you thought was absolutely perfect, but it turned out not to be. The 12th house can also be hidden enemies, but I want you to know, Capricorn, that the 12th house hidden enemies actually means yourself, like your inner being, the way you work with yourself. So where you've trapped trauma and they're working against you, or your anxiety works against you, or your depression works against you. This is a time when you could find a lot of healing, I have to say. With the Victory card here, you're going to overcome your challenges. A lot of you are going to be doing that through physical activity, through mental health practice, through therapy, something like this. And I also see for a lot of you, if you really have had your heart broken, in whatever capacity, there's going to be something around the corner for you that's actually really beautiful. So for some of you, this could be an engagement, a new love interest, a creative project, something like this. With the Balance card, it could be with a Libra, but it could also just be that it's letting you know that whatever you're dealing with internally, no matter how bad things can feel, they will feel just as good again. So if that's something that resonates with you, Capricorn, just know that things will get better and you will be victorious over what is hurting you at the moment, or what you're processing with the 12th house. So that's what I have for you, Capricorn, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aquarius, welcome to your segment on the Sagittarius eclipse. This is happening in your 11th house, which is to do with your goals, your aspirations and your friendships. And it is going to be opposing Gemini, which is your 5th house of love, pleasure, romance, creativity, more than anything. And Jupiter is now in your 2nd house. For a lot of you Aquarius, this is going to be a time when you maybe let go of certain friendships or certain groups or certain teams. You may be changing jobs, you may be leaving behind a particular group, a particular social circle, a particular cause with this community card, and this is only going to be advantageous to you. This is something that needs to be released. A way of working with certain people might not be fulfilling you anymore, and it could be for a lot of you with the 6 of Pentacles, the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles, that a lot of you are moving towards professions, jobs, careers that are actually going to align with you on a personal level. You're going to make more money from them. In particular, they're going to be more abundant, there's going to be more growth, there's going to be more opportunities. A lot of you could be getting hired in the next month or so. A lot of you could be finding more opportunities, particularly on the online world. Some of you could be online dating and this could be working for you. But I do feel for a lot of you with the Wisdom card, you're making better choices for yourself, Aquarius, in terms of money, but also in terms of romance, in terms of children, in terms of fun and how you engage with the world. Gemini season is typically a very fun time for you, but you're being asked to figure out how you maybe let certain networks or certain teams or things like that get you down or drag you into their issues that really aren't working for you at this time. So for some of you, that could be leaving behind a friendship. For some of you, it could be leaving behind a group, as I say, a network or a community you're part of that is just not serving the new you. It's almost like you've outgrown this, Aquarius. But with Jupiter in the 2nd house, you're feeling more confident. There's more opportunities coming for you in terms of money. There's more financial endeavors on the horizon, and you're also going to be seeing your worth and your value much more than you have done in a while, Aquarius. So I really like this for you. I know that the 11th house is a tricky one for you to experience change because you do value friendship and networks more than anybody else, but just know that if you're letting go of some people at this time or some networks or some goals that aren't working for you, it's okay, and it's only going to make way for things that are actually more suitable. So that's what I have for you, Aquarius. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. For you, this is happening in your 10th house of career, reputation, social status, and all those kind of prospects, Pisces, and it's opposite your 4th house of home, family, and the past. This is such a turning point for you, Pisces. I don't know if you noticed, but Ellen DeGeneres is a Pisces rising, and she's finalizing her show. She has decided around this eclipse that she's no longer going to be doing the Ellen show. I think that's the type of thing that's happening for Pisces rising at the moment, and Pisces energy. It's about leaving behind a particular part in your career, a particular chapter, a particular status. And this is just to make way for the new. This isn't about closing something off and just being in the abyss, okay? It's about closing off a particular chapter in your career that's no longer serving you. And that always makes room for something else. And that is coming up very clearly in your cards. And I want you to know, Pisces, that because Jupiter is in your sign and it's in conversation with this eclipse, it's only aligning you with things that are more suited to your personality, where you feel like you're growing. Jupiter wants you to grow. So we have the Death card, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Two of Wands, meaning that Jupiter is taking you in a new direction in terms of your career and your status and your reputation, and probably in a way that's much more lucky, a way that's much more conducive to you. You've not had Jupiter in your sign since 2010, I think, and so you're going to be experiencing changes around this time. I'm a Pisces rising, and I remember that year, just so many things going so well, having so many opportunities, and feeling very advantageous about the next steps in life. And this is something you're going to be experiencing too. The Death card, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Two of Wands, things have changed for a reason. If you found that you lost a job since these eclipses started, because they started last June, if you found you lost a job, if you feel like you lost a career path, or you're no longer resonating with something, this is the point where it starts to make sense. It's going to start to feel like you're getting towards the next goal, you're understanding the next chapter in life, and it requires you to leave behind a particular way of life. So if you're unemployed at the moment, this is probably to do with leaving behind unemployment. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want people to fear it so much. You could also be in a position where your boss leaves. If this eclipse is where you're taking a supporting role, you could be put into a leadership position. A lot of you could be realizing you need to be leaders. Because with the bittersweet and discovery, the change that you're feeling, there is a touch of bittersweetness. So there's things about this change that you'll miss. There's things about this change that you will be maybe a little bit bittersweet about, sad about, but this is a period of discovery for you, and about living a more heart-centered life. We have the Journey card and the 5th chakra, meaning that your new journey lets you be yourself. It lets you express yourself, be authentic, speak your mind, speak your truth. For some of you, it's a profession based on communication. It's a profession based on having to put your voice out there. And that's very common for leaders. You have to be gifted orators. So for some of you, that 10th house is about taking on a more leadership role. And with the Journey, some of you could be traveling or moving home around this time. Because of the Gemini energy, you could literally be having a change in location. You could be moving to a different residence. You could be traveling for work. You could be traveling to work, something like this. But with the 5th chakra, Pisces, it's all about being who you are and experiencing a career that's much more in alignment with yourself. Jupiter's in your sign. Shoot for the stars. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.